All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Saged Wrestling. Got a real special guest today, one I'm excited about. We got Alisha Howk, U23 World Bronze Medalist, and heck, this year you U.S. Open champion. How you doing today, girl?
Oh, I'm doing well. Happy to be here.
I appreciate you taking the time, really do. You've been great to working with me to try to make this work. So it's definitely appreciated.
Yeah.
But man, just we'll jump right into it. What led you to what led you to wrestling? What first got you into the sport?
Yeah, I was super young when I started. I was 4 years old when I started, and my dad was the head coach of our youth wrestling team. And I have a couple older brothers and a younger brother, and I pretty much just did whatever they did. So it was pretty easy. I either sat on the side or joined in, and it seemed like a lot more fun to be in it. So yeah,
Uh, So dad was coach and he kind of just led you like you just went to practice with dad and just it
Mhm.
took off from there, huh?
Yeah, pretty much, and haven't looked back since. So it's good.
Absolutely, because I tell you what, like the levels that you've jumped, it's been fun to watch, that's for sure. Especially, I feel like 2022 was just such a huge year. Like
Hmm.
to just watch, it's like just something just clicked, and it was like,
Hmm.
yeah, he just jumped another level.
Yeah.
But what out of all of them, I mean, with the U20, I mean, from all the way back to two-time Fargo champ. I mean, you got a heck of a resume. You got
Hmm.
2017 Cadet World Team member, Junior World Team member, Dave Schultz Memorial Champion. Uh, I guess is I would figure that U23 that bronze medal probably meant the most. Like, was that the kind of like the biggest, I guess, accomplishment that you were so far like able to get to with your career?
Yeah, it was, and it's pretty interesting. Like I say this in a humble way, like winning national titles is really really cool, but it just wasn't. It's not like the top of the top. There's just still so much more after that, and so being able to medal last year, like that was the goal. I remember going into like our training season and stuff like that and getting ready for worlds. I get a little antsy and a little hateful at times, and my teammates were awesome to help me out there, but I remember my coach was writing down like on sticky notes that I would stick on my mirror like in the locker room, and it was like U23 world medalist and just good affirmations and things like that. I'm like, okay, like this is kind of crazy, like I haven't gotten a world medal yet, and so to kind of like think about it and fester that thought in your mind, like you got to think about it before you can actually do it, and that was kind of hard to process and to really believe that it was possible just because it seemed so big. And so then when the day finally came, I remember at worlds I lost in the semis, like a heartbreaking match. I was like winning with the last few seconds and then ended up like
Last
giving
second
up something. I'm
takedown.
like, oh
Yeah.
my gosh. And so after that, like I was wrecked and I was crushed. And the same thing had happened in 2018 at Junior Worlds. I lost, like, got screwed over in the match in the semis, and I'm like, no way. Like, and then I ended up getting fifth. Like, I lost the bronze medal match, and I was like, no, like, this can't happen again. And my coach was really great, and he was saying, like, you still have the opportunity to get that medal. Like, we came here to get a medal. Like, you still have the opportunity to do that. So don't go home empty handed here. Like, you still have that opportunity in front of you. You got to take it. And so that was really good to kind of like refocus the mind. And then once
Yeah,
it happened,
absolutely.
it was an overwhelming sensation of emotions, and it was pretty awesome. So
Yeah, because like that's honestly, I mean, that was kind of where I was gonna go with it. Like after having such a heartbreaking loss, I mean, you're literally winning with seconds to go, and like you said, like if you get this last second takedown because you're up by criteria 6-6, you end up falling 8-6, which I don't mean to bring it up, but I mean it was just
it's okay.
how to recenter yourself to come back and still get the next best thing and bring home that bronze. And it sounds like, and honestly, a lot of the interviews I've watched, you really talk about your coach and how much he's done and helped, and it seems like he's got you in such a great spot and like mentally. And I think that at least with you, I feel like that is a big part of. I mean, it should be for all wrestlers, but I mean, you really express like just the mental aspect of it, and you got to be mentally prepared. And I feel like he does a heck of a job getting you to where you need to be.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think one thing that he coaches a lot is like the body, mind, and soul. Like, it's not just the physical side. You can't just go wrestle every day and expect to make jumps like that. You can, at the lower levels, it's completely different. Like, or sorry, lower ages, it's different, But once you get to like that top, it's like you really have to realize that it's body, mind, and soul. You can't just do one thing and not the other thing. They all play a huge part and they all equally matter. And so that's been really cool over the years, being able to just like dig into that more. It also sucks. I mean, it's not fun. And having to be like mentally pressed and as well as emotionally and physically, like it's taxing. But I think I've really just committed to the fact and the idea that all three things matter. So it's like outside the wrestling room and inside the wrestling room. And we did so many like just like in practice, we had so many situations and scenarios where we would, say we're on the edge and it's like we had to get a push out, or, you're down by one and or down by two with this many seconds left. And so we just did so many of those situations in practice. And so that was like the physical component, but then also the mental and emotional component. And just so like when I'm in a match like that, you think about it, you're like, okay, so I'm like down by this much with this much time, like I have to go. And so, when things end up not being so great and don't come out with that win, there's still, you're still practicing that, the, I don't know, the strategies that you
Yeah.
practice in the wrestling room. And I remember after that match, I threw my sweats on right away, and we went into like the other room, and I was just like crying the entire time, like running around the circle, like, it was all sad. And
It's understandable though. That was huge. You were wrestling so well, like so it's understandable.
yeah, yeah. So that was, you know, you also have to be aware that you have to just let it out. Like that was one of the coolest things my coaches ever taught me is like, I'm a girl and I'm emotional and I have to express my emotions. I can't just bottle them in. And so I think that was also a big part of like all of this is like, there are times I cry before matches. And after that match at Worlds, it's like I just had to cry for a while, like,
Yeah.
dwell in it for a little bit and then move on. And so I think that allows me to move on though is because I actually went through the emotions and experienced it, and that I think that makes a big difference too.
Absolutely. And even as a even as a male, like I remember I was like 33-3 at the state tournament, supposed to do real well, and I lost the first round at the state tournament. And I felt that like it was like my everything was like everything you just worked for all season.
Mm-hmm.
You had this great season and I lost 5-4
Mm-hmm.
over a head and arm. And it but like I kind of felt like exactly the way you just did. Like I ended up going like over such a move that you've been working on since you were a kid. Like, you know what I mean? Like one of the first moves you learned and got me. You know what I mean? So but I did the same thing. I remember going up in the stands and just putting my and just I had to let it out. And
Mm-hmm.
then for the next 2 days, I wrestled my butt off, came back, took third, and it worked out. It worked out good. But it just at the end of the day, like you do got to let it out. Like and so
Mm-hmm.
I can definitely respect it, and I like the fact that your coach is he puts that mentality into you, and I feel like
Yeah.
you've accepted it very well and took to it very well because you. I'm excited to see you next year because of I mean, granted, I'm ready to watch it U23s, but like when it comes to the Olympics, like I really think that like with every level that you jump, it's I'm excited. I know. So you go to the U.S. Open, and how awesome was that too? Like you just dominated, and
Mm-hmm.
you and not even that. Like whenever you go and you got Lauren Mason, wasn't it in the finals?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Who was on the national team last year,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a pretty dominant win. You know what I mean? So it was just like, oh, she's like at least she did. She came to play. Like it was really fun. It's been a fun journey to watch as a fan perspective outside looking in. But I mean, for you winning that U.S. Open and getting back to Final X, like how was you feeling heading into it to know, hey, I gotta all right refocus. Um, you didn't know it was if it was going to be Jakara at the time or not, but
Mm-hmm.
more than likely, like, and you had wrestled her several times in the past. Where does your head go? Like, where's it after the U.S. Open, having such a big win, but knowing, hey, still gotta
Mm-hmm.
you focus for this big match at Final X, a best of three.
Yeah, no, it was exciting, but it was kind of just like, okay, this is just another step in the process. So it was like, okay, be excited, take some pictures, but then like right away get back to it. And so like the next day after after the Open, well, actually, that night they told me that I was leaving on Monday to go to Argentina to go to Pan Am. So I was like, okay, well, I can't be sore, can't be like, anything like that. And so the next day, me and my coach wrestled for like an hour, and that was awesome. So it was just like getting back to it right away. And when you go to another event right away after a big win, it humbles you and it kind of gets you back to reality. And so I think that was really important, to get up early the next day and wrestle. And so that was pretty awesome. But then going into Final X, um, didn't know for a while, kind of assumed, but we're just prepared for whatever. And so the training didn't change much. It was just working on the things that I'd already been working on. And I think that was important because then it was like I wasn't too focused on someone else. I was able to just kind of like figure myself out and figure out what I needed to do and work on and kind of take some of the stuff that I was working on or needed to fix from US Open, tweak those a little bit and prepare myself for Final X. And then once we knew who it was, we put together a game plan, and unfortunately I wasn't able to execute the game plan that we'd put together. But it's pretty much just getting over the fact like you can't rest and think about like, oh, she's beaten me, like she's teched me before. It's like this is a brand new stage, brand new mat, this is a brand new
Yep.
year, like and so that was like really good going into it because it didn't discourage me in any way. It was just like, okay, we're here to wrestle and I'm going to put together a game plan and do my best. And yeah, so it was not too much different than anything else. So
Now, so say, all right. So, well, I mean, obviously, we're focused on U23. Like, well, so what are you doing to get ready? I guess I got a question, but I'll come up to that afterwards. But you what's the process for getting ready for these U23s that's coming up? Just grinding, staying there in Wisconsin, just getting after it and practicing on a regular, or you going to Colorado Springs, anything like that, or what's the
yeah,
preparation?
so it gets a little bit more specific, and it's really nice because my coach is just really good about like game planning and that kind of stuff. So for me, I kind of just have to trust in the process, which is really nice because then I just like do what he tells me to do. And that's like the best thing. Because then if I overthink it or think too much, it's like, oh, what should I be doing, this, that, or the other? It's like, okay, like calm down. He's got it. And so it's nice that I can trust him that he has like, the overall game plan. But I'll be going to Colorado Springs for a camp next month. And then after that, I'm pretty much staying in Wisconsin. And just training here. And so it's pretty specific training. And so like each week is different. And so we have like 4 week cycles. And so in August it'll start like the 8 week cycle. And that like is when it starts to, it's like, okay, like starting to get excited and really feel
Mm.
it. And so we have like 4 week cycles and it gets pretty specific. And
And
then the
this
last
what, September? U23
October,
September, October.
October. Yeah.
I
It's late October. So it's like the 25th or the 27th.
and we're just I like no more tournaments, just kind of practice, getting grinding, or are you planning on wrestling any before U23s, or are you just kind of just, hey, we're just going to focus, practice, and just stay grinding?
Yeah, pretty much at this time, like I've had a really good long summer of training, competing, and have done so many competitions in the last few months. And so because of that, I don't need to compete before.
I
Some people
agree.
do. I'm not one of them, and so that's pretty nice because, and especially this season is kind of like a lull in the season. Like everyone's going to world championships and things like that, so there's not a ton else going on, and so going into it is just pretty much that specific training, specific partners, and things like that. And gratefully, I've had a couple of teammates over the years when I'm preparing for these things that they have been there and been my practice partner for each one of them, and so that's really nice. And yeah, so it'll get pretty specific and it'll get a little bit more intense, but it'll be good. So I'm excited for it.
Yeah, okay. You what was it? The U23 Nationals. I think it was the semifinals, or it might have been the final. You had to wrestle. It must have been the semifinals. Your actual training partner.
Well, yeah, yeah, that was not
Who,
fun.
what was it? Wasn't it Gabby Skidmore? Am I
Yep,
correct?
yep,
Yeah.
yeah. Her and
And
I.
that would have been rough. Oh no, you're fine. I apologize, but yeah, I try to put myself in your shoes, and it's like, man, like being just training with somebody every day, and heck, I think you ended up getting a cradle and pinning her. I believe I could be wrong because I've watched so many of your matches here in the last couple of days, but and because Gabby's tough, Gabrielle's tough. She's a very very great competitor. I love to watch her go too. So, but what was that like for you? Like being, hey, semifinals,
Mhm.
U23 nationals, got to do this to get to the next level to try to make this team. You come across a good friend and a training partner, and I never had to deal with that. Never been in that situation.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely it's interesting, and I don't train with her on a daily basis, but like we lived together a few years ago, and like she's been to my gym a lot, and yeah, so we just wrestled each other over the years, and that makes it even worse because it's like we're so familiar with everything, and I think that was the hardest challenge was that she knew all my stuff and I knew her stuff. And it's just like it's so frustrating because it's like you can't introduce anything crazy or whatever because they know your feel. And so that that's like one of the hardest things. And even like some other competitors, like on the men's side especially, like they have so many like of those like rivalries that they
Yeah.
compete against each other so much. And even just in competition, like the more you compete against someone, like you figure them out a little bit and know their feel and their reactions. And so it's always a challenge and a battle because you have to introduce something new. It can't be the same old because it's not going to work because they know it. And so it's kind of crazy because when I was in that match, I just like was so frustrated and trying to stay composed and like come back to it because you can't get all over the place or it's not going to go great.
Right.
But so I was trying to stay composed, but then it was like, oh my gosh, time is running out and like I'm going to lose this match. Like I can't lose this match. And so it kind of was like got to a point where I'm like, I have to figure something out, like have to do something. And so it ended up being the cradle that I got was like a funky like suicide cradle. And
Yeah.
I had actually just my coach like teaches some funky moves, like just in case. And so it ended up being I had hit that cradle a few weeks before in like a live go with one of my other teammates, and I was like, holy crap, it worked. Like, it's like, oh, coach taught this, and I don't know if it'll work. And it's like, oh my gosh, he actually knows what he's doing, and so it ended up being like, I don't know what it was, but in that moment I saw it and just like went for it. And I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna get cut on my back or what. I was like, oh my gosh, that was like the most terrifying thing. And I'm like, oh my gosh,
Huh.
but
It
but
definitely
grateful.
worked. Definitely
Yeah,
worked.
it definitely worked, and I'm
And it
not
was
gonna
awesome to see. It
lie.
was awesome to see.
I've hit it a couple more times since then, and I'm like, all right,
Seen
I think
that.
it's kind of
And
fun.
we got a little more comfortable with it, I saw.
So it's kind of fun to have those things in your back pocket. But yeah, it's definitely not ideal, but it's always nice when you can have a competitive side to you with your friend, but then off the mat you're still friends and can be mature about it. And so it's nice because her and I are still really good friends, and we went to Hobby Lobby the other day, and that was nice. And
Awesome. Yeah,
so
that's it. And that is good that you guys are able to do that. And I think that's what makes wrestling such an amazing thing. Like UFCs, you got everybody like wanting to um, get after each other, talk this, say this, and what I love about wrestling, like a big part of it is you can have that match and still end up at Hobby Lobby and hanging out and doing
right.
your thing. So it's a blessing that everybody's able to just stay humble, stay and know that hey, this is you were just doing your job. Like, and at the end of the day, that's what it was. And one, it was somebody had to win. You know what I mean? So
Right.
it's awesome that you guys were able to still keep like no hard feelings were kept afterwards.
Yeah.
'Cause and you don't come off that way. You seem like such a just good at heart, humble, very humble person. So I definitely couldn't see even if the rules were reversed, like it being anything other than what you're saying. That's for
Mhm.
sure.
Well, thanks. I do appreciate that. I try to keep the peace, keep the unity, and like I said,
Yeah,
her and I have been friends for a really long time. So it's like, why let a match come between you and or anyone really, no matter who it is? It's like it keep what's on the mat, you know, and not
for
worry
sure.
about it off the mat. So yeah.
And that's a good way. That is a good way. But you do this even outside, like how you I was reading how you did a Zoom call one time to some girls down in Florida and just how you
Mhm.
tried to mentor the younger youth wrestlers and or girls coming up and practice and coach with them. And you were, I don't know if you still do, you are you still coaching? You was an assistant coach for the Wildcats there for a little bit. Are you
A little
still, is
bit,
that
yeah.
still like a,
Yeah,
because I've
yeah.
seen that and go ahead.
Oh, sorry. At my gym, yeah,
Okay.
I coach. Me and one of my other teammates will be coaching the girls, and I have been for the last couple years. But then I do one-on-ones with some of them and stuff like that. So they're awesome.
Oh, is that something you want to do in the future? Like eventually, like whenever you hang up the shoes, is it something, is coaching something? Or because I also, I know that you were going to Chippewa Valley Technical College for nursing also. So like I didn't know if like is is coaching in the future, or is it more or less like, hey, when I'm done, maybe step foot into the, medical side of things, and
Mm-hmm.
or have you, I guess right now where you're at, I don't know if you quite thought that. I guess I was just interested to see if like what it was. I know right now it's you got U23s, Olympics, and everything else in the next year or so. So I'm sure there's. I'm asking you a
Yeah,
question like, "Hey, what are you gonna do in 10 years or for 8 years?" But
yeah.
it it has it ever crossed your mind like, man, I really enjoy coaching and dealing with these girls. This is something that I would be interested in doing going
Mm-hmm.
like after my career.
Yeah, absolutely. And I kind of like to think about at least have an idea of what I would like to do post wrestling. You know, it's like there's no guarantee, and so I've thought about it a lot over the years. And for coaching, my coach kind of like shoved me into it a little bit in the last couple years, and I'm really grateful that he did, because I didn't realize how passionate I was about it until I got into the position. And so that's something that now, life plans have changed, because before I thought I would just go to school and be a nurse. And I have been going to school, and I got accepted into the program like, oh gosh, like over 2 years ago. And I haven't gone to the program yet, just because it's a lot. And, you know, I,
Absolutely,
I
absolutely. And
it's not
that's
my
when
full
when I
time.
read that, I was like, when does this girl take a break? Like,
Yeah.
does she
Well,
stop?
I know, and I'm grateful. My sister is a nurse, and so when I was talking to her about it, she's like, you have just a short time to be a wrestler. It's like, go do that right now. You have the rest of your life to be a nurse. It's like there's no rush into it. And I'm really grateful that she said that, because I had some other people saying like, maybe wait on it. But to hear it from her, and she's been through it, it was just really encouraging. I'm like, okay, like that's true. Like I'll just focus on this, because I'm also like I can do what I need to do to get the thing done, but I'm not the greatest student if I'm wrestling, because I just care so much more about wrestling. And
Absolutely.
yeah, and I worked as a caregiver and like a CNA for a while, and that's kind of what, I don't know, showed me that I really liked the position, the job. And so I was like, yeah, this is absolutely what I want to do. But then as wrestling got more intense and things like that, I ended up having to stop working there. And I was like, okay, like this is kind of showing me and telling me that wrestling is just my priority right now, and that I need to focus on that and do that. And it almost got to a point where I was like feeling antsy, and I was feeling that I was being taken away from the wrestling room. And I'm like, okay, I think like as long as I'm in the wrestling room, no matter what role, what position, it just makes my heart happy. It fills me. And so I think, yeah, long story short, absolutely. I think that I would love to coach. And my dad has, when I was a kid, we had this club called Western Stars, and that was down in Missouri, and it was awesome. And my dad was just, he was always the best coach I've ever had. And I mean, not to be biased or anything, but in
Yeah.
general, just the way that he coaches kids, and like I've been picking his brain and things like that, because I'm curious. I don't know how he did it the way that he did it, because he created such good people as well as athletes. And I think that's like one of the most important parts about coaching. It's like you're not just coaching this
You're
athlete,
set.
you're also, yeah, you got to teach them how to be a good person. They don't know. And so that was really neat. And so I've been picking his brain. And then I don't even know what age I was, maybe 16, 18, whenever I can. I became the president of the Western Stars Wrestling Club. And and so I think the hope maybe one day is to get that started back up again, wherever I may
That's
be.
awesome.
Um, but
Love that.
yeah, it's just so cool. Like being able to coach, like you learn so much teaching other people, and like being there for others, and holding the water bottle and folding the clothes. Like, there's just something about it that is just so humbling, because, you're serving others. And I just think that it's amazing to kind of go from one place to another. As an athlete, you're taken care of. And my coach folds my clothes and holds my water bottle and does what I need to
Yeah.
do. And then, so, I went to
It's
Wisconsin
nice
State.
to
Yeah,
get
coached a
that other
couple
side of
girls.
it.
And yeah,
Yeah.
and it's pretty awesome, and I enjoy it. And to kind of be the one, if they're nervous, to tell them a dad joke or anything like that. So it's been awesome.
Ease the mind.
Yeah, yeah, and just to see some of these girls like change and grow, like doing some of the one-on-ones, like some of the girls that I get to work with, they're amazing, and they influence me and inspire me as much as I try to do to them. And yeah, it's just amazing. So I would absolutely love to do that post wrestling. And yeah.
Do you still have, I mean, being obviously U23, so you got you 22, 23 years old, and I'm guessing, is there a time limit? Like, is there kind of just like, hey, I'll know when I know type thing, or is it like, hey, after Paris, if things don't work out, or if they do, or it, do you have like, I guess it like, all right, hey, if this thing where I want to be by 26, 27, like, and then hey, we'll try to step into something else.
Hmm. Yeah. I definitely want to be wise about it. I don't want to just like, keep going when it's time to be done. But I definitely want to go as long as my body will let me. I think ideally like 2024, 2028 are the main focuses. And then if I'm able to keep going after that, absolutely.
I'm pumped
So,
to hear 2028. Definitely pumped to hear that. Because in all honesty, like whenever I think it would be just it, the way you have grown and just the levels that you have jumped and just I I really think that you really have a shot at going and winning some Olympic golds and or just medaling and just being a part on the Olympic team. Like I would hate to not see you at it. You know what I
mhm,
mean? So if
yeah.
it, but at the same time, I would respect whatever, obviously as a fan, like I would respect any decision that you would go with. But I just, man, when you look, like, you just keep stacking and just getting better and better. And it's like I said earlier, it's been so fun to watch.
Hmm.
But
Yeah. Well,
with
thank
the next one, no problem. Thank you. We appreciate it because it's
you.
been like as fans, like it's you've given us something, and just who you are as a person makes it even easier to really follow and root for you. Like, and when I really dug into just who you are and listening to some of the interviews, and just a very kind soul, and it's hard not to want to root for somebody that views things the way that you do and approaches things the way that you do, and it's appreciated. I wish we had more of it out there. You know what I mean? So it's definitely awesome.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I do
So
appreciate that.
yeah, no problem. So if we next year, we say we get through U23s, how do you these you've wrestled Jakara 6 times, and it comes say we're at final Lex, we're going to see who goes to Paris or do the U.S. Open or however they go about with the Olympic trials. I don't know if it's the same way for the world team as it is the Olympic trials. I'm not sure how that all works, but say it comes down to you and Jakara again in the finals. Like, is there something in the back of your head with her? Because, like, I mean, you're the second best 55 kilogram girl in the country. I mean, that's be proud of that because I mean we're proud of you for it. Uh, uh, how I guess what would be the approach? Like I mean, because like I would think use that as a fuel. Like all right, hey, I got to find a way to this person is keeping me away from getting a world championship, stopping me from being and nothing against Jakar, great wrestler, but like just in your mindset, your aspect, like how do you get over that hump, I guess, or like what would be the approach to it?
Yeah, I think that part of that just goes into today, like, training today and focusing on next year, when you're preparing for an Olympic cycle and things like that. It's not just that one tournament, it's the years prior and or is that the right wording before?
Yeah,
I was
you
like
did
so
good.
confident and I'm like, wait.
You still
Years
are. You're
before
doing good.
the years before. Um, and and so okay. Anyway, so coming after Final X and after a couple matches like that, it's it does fuel you. And so I think it's actually pretty interesting coming from, this was my best season that I've ever had, and that is super exciting and very encouraging. But then also then finishing off with getting tech twice, like that's discouraging. And so it's kind of like you have to find the balance between it. You don't want to be on a high horse, like be humble and just keep working, but then you also don't want to be discouraged, because then when you do work, it's not going to be as rich as if you are in the mindset of just like being a student of the sport and keeping the learning going. And so I've been really picking my coach's brain and other coaches, like, hey, like, what do you think? Like, what can I do? And so it's really just like figuring some things out. And I posted about that a little bit and talked about it, but it truly is just like coming back here and like figuring some things out. Like, obviously I'm not there yet. And so there's still a lot of work that needs to be done. Gratefully, I've jumped some places, and like I said, it was great to have a really good season. And so that's, like I said, encouraging, but it's just like, okay, obviously I'm not there yet. So what do I need to do to fix this, or to just keep working towards it? And so just coming back and yeah, I think picking people's brains, I think part of it's like being humble and knowing that you don't have it all. I think that's like a really big piece of it. And then going to others and being like, hey, like, what do you think? And again, my coach is just very encouraging about all this stuff, and just like the humility piece and asking people's opinions and where they like what they think. And so it was actually really cool at Final X. My brother was able to be in my corner, and he coaches at a high school in Kansas City. And so during COVID and stuff, he was the one that I would wrestle with and things like that. And when I go home, I always wrestle with him. And so it was a really sweet thing to have them in my corner, and he also knows what he's doing, obviously. And so it was really cool. I just asked him, like, like, what do you think? And yeah, so I think that's really going to carry me like through this, to be able to like just know I don't have it all, and I need to figure some things out. And going and losing some matches kind of makes you realize that. And so going into next year, it's like kind of just thinking about, okay, like this is gonna be like one of the top people, like you can kind of focus, like, what are they doing, like what are their opponents doing? And yeah, just kind of doing your own research, digging into it. I think that's like being a student of the sport. And yeah, so it's complicated. I have not figured it out yet. But it's a slow work in progress. And trying to do the right things. And part of it too is kind of motivated me. I'm like, okay, like obviously I wasn't doing all the right things, so what can I change and do? So like some eating habits, some sleeping habits, and journaling, like doing the little stuff after practice. And so it's always just, losses suck. No one likes them. We always want to win. But there's just so much good that comes out of them if you let it. And I think I've been trying to take that, and instead of being discouraged, like, just like, okay, like what can I do? I can't change the outcome of that. I can't focus on that. So what can I do moving forward? And it's like, okay, I can change this. And it's like little changes, like putting 1 penny in a jar each day. It's like, by the end of the year, you'll have well, 365, you won't have much money, but maybe you could buy an Americano overseas, and you couldn't do that before. So
Absolutely.
yeah,
I like that.
So
That's a good way of putting it. I like that. I think it's everything you just said was very well said. And I think that even some stuff that I read, like just with your faith, even like, I think that I just, there's really like every time, like anything that I read, it was like, man, that your parents did a phenomenal job raising you up to be a very, very, very good human being. And from just helping people to your outlook, like just like right there with knowing like, hey, you know what, I'm not quite there yet. I know what I need to do. And just like you said, keep adding that penny, and keep getting better and keep getting bigger and grinding, and staying after it. And I think who's ever gave you this mentality, this mindset, and just the humbleness that you carry and have, and a shout out to them, because it's just that they raised an amazing daughter, that's for sure.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. And my mom is going to love that. I might need that in writing from you, if that's okay. No, I'm very grateful and very blessed. Like I have some amazing people around me. I have an amazing family who I have 6 siblings, and 5 older and like 1 younger. And it's just, it's pretty amazing to have that support, and they're all, you know, living their lives and still supporting me, and I just I'm so grateful for that. I don't know how I could do it without them. And my parents, yeah, definitely taught me a lot of good stuff, and I'd have to give a lot of credit to them because, you know, that's what I grew up with, and growing up with like that mindset and the mentality, and also just to be a good person. And then coming here, like having my coach and his wife, and they have been, you know, pretty key to the last couple of years of the growth and change as well. And um, always have to give most of the credit to my parents, of course, you know, like they're number one. But
Absolutely.
but my
Absolutely.
coach and his wife really just pouring into me and also giving me a lot of grace. You know, I can be a little frustrating at times, and and so just their grace and allowing me to grow and to fail, and you know, same with my parents, they allowed me to grow and fail and still be there at the end of it. And I think that's one of the most important things, is that, you know, I'm a little hard-headed, and I might need to go figure out some things for myself rather than learn from others, and they're still there for me afterwards. And so that's been, just the older I've gotten, the more I've realized that, and I'm grateful for that. And then really just pouring into like my faith and growing into that in the last couple years.
Yeah.
That's been pretty amazing, and it's just shaped my entire life. Like, you know, body, mind, and soul, everything plays a factor, and so my faith really plays a factor into my wrestling, because when I go out there, my identity is secure in Christ, and so that's been a really neat thing over the years, and especially in last year. It's like I can go out there and like wrestle with freedom, because my identity is not in this outcome, it's in Christ. And so it's like nothing changes with that. And so it's just, oh my gosh, the amount of freedom that I've been able to have and just truly enjoy the sport. I think there's just so much pressure, like especially when you start getting to like some higher levels and some bigger events. It's like, oh my gosh, like this is it, you know. And it's like, whoa, like you gotta have something to ground you a little bit. And so I think like having my identity in Christ, like that's completely grounded me, so then I can go and do what I need to do and really just enjoy the sport. You know, like we love wrestling, we all love wrestling,
Yeah.
and sometimes we just like sabotage that and take it away because there's so much pressure. And so that's been nice, just to really, like in the last year I've just like gained that control back a little bit to have fun and enjoy the sport that I love to do. And that's something that I always tell myself before a match. It's like, okay, just like, you know, I pray about it. I'm like, oh Lord, just like let me like enjoy the sport that I love to do. And like, you know, thank you for the abilities you've given me. And just like little things like that just make such a difference. Cause then when I go out there, it's like, it's about his name. And I posted about that a lot too. It's the audience of one. No one else's thoughts or opinions matter. It doesn't matter if, like, you know, sometimes I get a little like prideful, and I'm like, oh, like I lost, like that's embarrassing. And it's like, well, it's an audience of one. Like, I'm here glorifying God, and you know, using the abilities that he's given me. And it's like, as long as I'm doing what I can, I think that that's all that he asked me to do. It's not about the outcome. And yeah, so it's been incredible over the years just to learn all of this and to really grow. And yeah, it just makes it so much more fun.
Yeah, I can tell you like just that little minute and a half, 2 minutes right there. Like I already was a huge fan, and to be honest, I you might have just became my favorite wrestler on the independent. I think like I think it's that. Yeah, like I just you don't hear that very often, and I think with just if I had I have one son. I have a 2-year-old son, and if I had a
Oh,
daughter, though, I would even him, to be honest with you, like I would definitely want them to, eh, man, if they viewed and look up to somebody like you, and follow like just your mindset, the way you do, and like how you just laid down like the way you view things and with your faith, and that to me is speaks volumes of just who you are as a person. And like I said, if I had a daughter, I would this would be the person that I would say, hey, Alicia Hope, this is who we're gonna look up to. This is who we're gonna follow. Just check her out, see what she, and I think your values and everything are spot on. I really do.
well, thank you. And like, as always, I appreciate that. And I don't know, I just think that it's there's something to it where you can really enjoy what you're doing. And I feel like there's just, like I said, there's too much pressure, and wrestling's gonna end someday. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't want to tell people that, you know, like come to the truth of it, like, you know, it's gonna end one day. So it's like, if you're so focused on outcomes and, you know, like if you're not whole enough before the medal, you're never gonna be whole enough with it. And
Yeah.
I think that's like a really important piece that some people don't hear. And I think that's, you know, unfortunate sometimes that it's like there's like, you know, like their identity is in the outcomes and their achievements and things like that, because it's just so backwards. And it's really unfortunate, because like if you could experience the freedom in Christ, like that is where it's at. And that transcends throughout your entire life. That's not just in the wrestling world. And so that's why, like with all this stuff, it's like you have to have an outcome, like not an outcome, sorry, you have to have something that's bigger than yourself that you're working towards. It can't just be for this one medal, because like what are you going to do after that medal? Like, you know, it's like you just want, it's never going to be enough. You have to keep getting more, keep getting more, keep
Yeah.
getting more. But in Christ, like you're fully satisfied. And so I don't know, and every day is a work in progress. I don't want to act like, oh, like I have it figured out. Like,
100%. Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. I mean,
it's
at
a
the end of the
daily
day, we're still
walk.
human. Yeah.
Right, we're human, and we're gonna mess up and screw up and be prideful, and you know, really hold on to that medal. And
Yeah.
so yeah, it's definitely no doubt a work in progress. But just to, like I said, have that security and that freedom, it's just an experience like no other. You know.
Yeah, and it is, and it's actually taken me a while. I think that's why I have, and I still have a long way to go with it. But at the end of the day, like I know that like finding that just that peace, that inner that finding that gosh, how do I want to put it? Just finding him in general, and just being able to find that peace and know that, hey, at the end of the day, like wrestling is awesome, and or your job or whatever you may do for a living and the things that we love. But at the end of the day, as long as we're living right by him and putting him first, and like you said, like at the end of the day, like wrestling does end one day, like, and it does, it stinks to think about, because I mean, heck, I'd love to watch you get after it for the next 20 years, but at the same time, like there's a bigger purpose also. But like what I love about it, and what like probably what I love about you the most, is like you're using your platform to help this youth, help these kids, and teaching those kind of things whenever the world's kind of tried to take that out of it. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's just it's a blessing to have somebody like you just out here helping the youth and putting it into them. So it's
Yeah.
yeah, like I said, like I was a fan before this, and now outside of your family and your really close friends, Bobby's right there with them. Like I promise you.
Well, thank you. That is greatly appreciated. So
Yes,
that means a
ma'am.
lot.
And I'll tell you what, come U23s, like the way that I view it, like you put on that USA singlet, like you gain a lot of fans. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter. I mean, from Blue Springs, Missouri, and I'm here from Canton, Ohio area, a little town called Carrollton. But I mean, here all the way on the other side of the country, just like in everywhere. Like what I love about it so much is like you represent everybody. Like at the end of the day, like your team, you are our 55 kilogram girl up 23s, it, and we want you to bring home that gold and be the, you know what I mean? So I hope
Hmm.
you get it, and I think you deserve it more than anybody. I do. I think you've put in the work. I've seen the levels from when I started watching you at Fargo, all to that to now, and you can't not put in work and go from, and you were great. I mean, you won Fargo twice, so it's not even like saying, but deal it's just you have stepped up so much and grown so much, and it's been very fun to watch. And I think after putting that work in, girl, you deserve to bring home some gold. And I hope you end up in Paris and next year, and yeah, I think it's all going to fall right into place for you. I do.
Well, thank you. Yeah, that's definitely the plan and the goal, and just looking forward to it. It's always just, it's a very unique opportunity to put on that singlet with USA across your chest. Like it's like no other, and just being in that environment too. Like last year was really cool. We had a group of Americans from all over that were at Worlds, and that was so fun because they were all in the stands and they had like cowbells and whistles and whatever, and they were so loud and they were
That's
yelling,
all.
and it was so like it made my heart warm, and I imagine that all the other athletes there really felt that. So it makes a difference when you have those supporters, but then like you said, like when you're there, like you're representing everyone, and that's even cool too, just like to
It is
have that
because
opportunity.
yeah, even not being in the stands with it, like you got hundreds of thousands of people sitting at home,
Right.
you're there, and it don't matter if what colleges girls went to or what they came from. Like at the end of the day, like if you're one of those 10, like you're us. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
so, like it means a lot to us too. Like I mean, at the end of the day, like not that it would like win, lose or draw. We still love you, but at the end of the day, like
Mm-hmm.
we want to see you succeed. We like it makes us even feel better. Like I mean,
Yeah.
even last year, I remember watching you last year and getting that bronze, and I remember watching that bronze medal match, and I literally remember it to a T, and I was sitting on my recliner and I was watching it, and once you got it, because I remember the semifinals, and I could only imagine. Like I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you broke it down for us how it all went, but to come back and get that bronze, this is somebody at the time like never linked up with you, never talked to you, but like jumped out of my seat, like yeah, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
and it was awesome. So it is. It honestly, I feel like wearing that USA, it bears so much that like so you're representing your country, so you not only have your family, your friends, your coaches, your everybody that has helped you along the way, but you also have a whole bunch of people like a guy sitting in Canton, Ohio, jumping out of his recliner because you won,
Mm-hmm.
the bronze medal. So I guess it has such a big meaning to it, and it's awesome that you have that opportunity, and I don't think that we would want anybody else representing it.
Well, thank you, and it's really neat to hear something like that too. Like sometimes you don't want to take like advantage of the opportunity to represent the U.S. And I think sometimes like it kind of just becomes like oh we've done it before, like it's not as big of a deal, um but then kind of like really thinking about it, it's like that's a really cool opportunity, and like just be able to take advantage of it in a good way. And
Yeah.
yeah, so that and I love the wrestling community. I think there's no other sport like wrestling and the community that we have, and it's like everyone just kind of supports everyone. Like I at my coach's like house, like we had like a group of us just like all sitting around the living room watching the NCAA's, and it's like I don't really know, like I know some of those guys, like I grew up with them and things like that, but it's like I don't really watch NCAA wrestling until the nationals are on, and I'm like, oh yeah, absolutely, I'm gonna watch some good wrestling. It's like it's just the love of the sport,
It
and
is.
it's just yeah, it's like no other. I really just love it.
I do too. I do too. And it's literally it became so like I've talked about it for years because I mean I got out, I jumped to running heavy equipment for the Union Hall, and that's what I do for a living. But at the end of the day, like uh it's been a blessing. It's helped me buy my home, get have my you know what I mean? But it's not what I love.
Right.
And that's why I was like, man, you know what? I got to do something with this because like I eat, breathe, and sleep wrestling still, whether it's NCAA's, whether it's freestyle, and I big Greco, and I think if I could give anybody a platform or like even this, like right here, like if one 13-year-old 14-year-old girl that's just starting wrestling that might be thinking about quitting or not knowing and sees this video and sees like what you stand for, what you represent, your humbleness, and how you grinded to get where you are, like then it's made this worth it's worth it to me. You know what I mean? Not
Mm-hmm.
only that, like I truly have enjoyed all 49 minutes of this, which I just looked at, which I'm sorry because I said
That's
35. So,
okay.
but like I definitely do appreciate you taking that time. But I just had to have something to do with the sport. I don't know if it'll lead to anything or but at the end of the day, I hope that it gets you like some wrestlers' voice because we get to see guys, girls, everybody on the mat. So it's like
Hmm.
we know what you are, but like who is Alicia Hope really? You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
who is she as a person? What is she off the mat? And I think it if I wish I was 15, 14 years old and was able to go and watch videos like this to be like, all right, this is how they did it. This is what they went through. This is how they grinded. This is the mentality
Yeah.
they had. And so I'm hoping that it'll end up being something. But at the end of the day, like it, I just have to have something to do with it because I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, that seems to
So
be a theme for all of these wrestlers. It's like they can never leave the sport because it's just it is. It's just something that's so unique that is like no other. And I think, it's not as big as some other sports, but it's growing so much and just to be a part of
it,
that as well. It's like it's just it I don't know, you feel it in your heart. It's like, oh, this is so exciting and you support everyone. It's like the grind, you know how hard it is. So
yeah.
like, why not?
And it's
And
and
it
it's helped mold me into the person I am today and you today. Like when I go to work, like I feel like I do the jobs that I do because wrestling taught me, hey, work hard. You know what I mean? Like
right.
so, uh, and maybe because of that, like I want to be the best worker out there. Like and
Hmm.
maybe it's and I think it has a lot to do with wrestling throughout my
Hmm.
entire, for 15 years, 20 years, whatever, 15 years
Yeah.
and I think it just helped to be like, all right, hey, like you got to go out here, do it, whether it's wrestling, whether it's work, whether it's anything. And I just think it builds, it sets you up in the future for a lot of greatness and helps you with in so many different ways, but rather than just on the mat.
Yeah, I agree. And I think even like at workplaces and stuff like that, if you have on your resume like, oh, I wrestled for like in high school or something like that's that's a really unique thing, but then also it's
Yeah,
like a very exciting thing for workplaces because it's like, it takes so much to wrestle and like dedication, hard work, and effort, and just yeah, yeah. So it just
yeah.
looks really good too. You can put that on your resume.
It does. It does though, and it absolutely does for sure. And actually, I wanted to touch on this right before we wrapped up, but like at the end of the day, like whenever you went to Fargo, there was I think five Missouri girls there, maybe 5, 10.
The first year 5, and then the second year there were 7. Yeah,
Yeah, and now this year there was over, I think 100 plus, right around 100. So
just
you were
about. Yeah.
such a you were such a huge part of making this grow, like in doing that, and like it's just another thing that like you should be proud as heck of because you went from 5 to 7 girls to where now people have watched you grow and do so like to think that you didn't you won it twice so to think that it didn't take some of these girls to that are looking up to you that you've even coached and mentored to watching you whenever you were there at Fargo like now you got 100 of them 5 to 7 to 100 like that's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, and it was actually pretty pretty funny because like in 2016 that was my last year with Team Missouri, and then I had moved to Wisconsin in 2017. But in 2017, Missouri had like 50 girls. I'm like, where did you all come from? Like, like it was just so cool to see, and just over the years to watch it grow. And I've coached in Fargo for the last couple years. This was the first year that I wasn't able to be there, but I'm still really good friends with the coaches, like the Missouri coaches, and so just like talk to them about it and see it grow. It's like, oh my gosh, like we had 2 coaches for the handful of us, and that was more than plenty. And now it's like they have so many coaches and so many athletes, and I even was able to when I went home, gosh, last month, and was able to run a practice at my old high school, and it was like a Team Missouri practice, and like that was just so neat to see some of the girls that I knew growing up and that I had actually like coached and wrestled with a little bit, and just to see them now as like actually like almost adults. And I
Yeah.
don't want to call them adults yet. They're not there yet, but it's so fun to see, and I'm just like, I don't know, it's just the sport is like no other, and just to see it grow and these girls learning and growing and the level of wrestling growing, it's like it's just awesome.
It
So
is. And you've played such a big factor in that. I hope that like you realize that, because I've literally, I mean, I've read an article last night. I like 1 o'clock in the morning, I was up and just making sure that I had my info right, and just try to do this and not go into it and being like, yeah, so what'd you do, where'd you go, where are you from, like, and I seen this thing that just said how you have played such a huge factor, and that's actually, they even wrote about it to where it was like she has literally took Missouri, like high school, from Fargo's, from 5 to 7, and like, and just how much you have helped and grow Missouri wrestling as a whole. It was actually an incredible read, like it really was. I can't remember where it was, but it was very awesome read on you, and it's true, and that's something else. I mean, man, just, the things you've done, girl, like by 23 years old, is phenomenal and amazing.
Well, thank you. As always, as I've said so many times now, I do appreciate it. I have no
Yeah,
idea what article you were reading because I don't know what that would have been.
I did some digging. I did some digging. Like, and I
Uh,
spent some time. Spent some time. But
uh,
honestly, if you just literally Google your name, there's two or three, like outside of like the flows and everything like that. There were like some just like some newspaper articles. Like that's how I found out about like um going to Chippewa Valley, and like just thinking maybe nursing for the future and stuff like that. Like it was actually on one of the students that you were working with, like they were saying it was like that some high school she'd come to, and it was down a bunch of steps, and it was like going into like a bomb shelter type deal, like wherever you guys
oh
were
yeah.
wrestling at.
Oh yes. That was when I had first moved here. We had a student interview us in the middle school. So in River Falls, the high school wrestling room is in the middle school, and we call it the dungeon because it's like you have to take all these steps downstairs, and it's just there's no windows. It's interesting, but
Like,
it's like the dungeon, and yeah. So
but
I
that's
forgot
where
about
I
that.
ran across it, and yeah, and like so I seen that article, and it really broke down just like how you were helping her, and how like, hey, she's able to go and work with you, two-time Fargo champ, 2019 junior world team member, taking fifth place. I mean, you won the Dave Schultz Memorial. I mean, you've won the gold. You just took silver at the Pan Ams, and I mean, you've just done so many incredible things, and I can't wait to see what the future holds for you, because it's exciting, and I promise you, we'll be right there watching.
Well, thank you, and thank you for the support. It means a
Yeah,
lot, and just to have something like this, I really appreciate your platform as well. This is how we get people to know what wrestling is, and help others learn and grow. And so this is pretty awesome.
thank you. I definitely appreciate it, because that's definitely the goal, and hopefully it'll reach out and be able to at least reach a couple people and hopefully help them. And if it gets even to something better, then that'd be great. But if not, I'm okay with just this, and being able to get to know and give you guys a voice to really see, hey, this is who you really are, and hopefully somebody can watch this, and I really think they will. Honestly, like you might be the easiest reel maker. Like some of the stuff, like I can't wait to do your video, because like there's a whole bunch of 1 minute clips that like I can't wait to get out. Like so I'm definitely excited about it. And again, thank you for taking the time. I definitely took an hour of your time, so I definitely
No,
didn't want to. I know you got a lot going on, so it's definitely appreciated. And I promise you, we'll be watching U23s. I hope training goes well. I hope you stay healthy. Be praying for you, and I hope you get that gold, girl, and you deserve it. And but regardless what happens, like we're still gonna love you. I mean, your Team USA, and we back you through no matter what happens up there, and come back and just keep grinding, because you're one of the best, and you're gonna keep being it.
hmm. Well, thank you, and like I said, thank you for having me here and reaching out. I always appreciate that, and yeah, for this platform and for doing what you're doing. I think it'll be good. So
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate it. I really do. And and hopefully what I want to do is after you go and you win that Olympic gold medal next year, I'm gonna reach back out, and we'll sit down and have another little talk.
I'm here for it.
All right, girl. I appreciate it. And yeah, hopefully your move goes well and you get that key at 1 o'clock. And I hope everything goes well and you
Yep.
guys have a good, safe day. And thanks again for taking the time.
Yeah, thank you so much. You have a good day.
Yes, ma'am. You too.
Bye.
Alisha Howk. I mean, the girl is speaks for herself, really. I mean, if you watch this whole interview, I know it went for an hour, but at the end of the day, like, just man, I feel like just so many of these athletes that I've been able to sit down with, like these wrestlers just I feel like I get shocked just a little more each one, just how humble, how great, just an amazing faith, an amazing just her view on life and how she tackles it and putting God first. And um, it's something that it is important in my life that I wish I could, um, I need to continue to grow with. So I really, she's an inspiration, really. Like, I mean, here, I think to me, like, I mean, outside of younger women wrestlers, male wrestlers, whoever, like she can, if you really look at this girl, she can really be somebody to look up to and really be a voice for just anybody. And she has been. I mean, she does a lot of it. I mean, it's unreal. Her, like I told her, her parents have done an amazing job raising an amazing woman, and I think the sky's the limit for her because she puts the right man first in her life, and that's God. And she just works. She can tell she loves this sport, like most of them do. But like she really has a passion and love for it. And wherever she ends up, I think she's headed for greatness. And I can't wait to see what she does in October. But U23s, because I really hope she gets that gold. Which I mean, obviously, I hope all 10 of the girls bring home gold to the U.S. But uh, she's a little more. It's like something I don't know, just something about her. She's just special. You know what I mean? And I hope y'all seen it and think the same thing. But at the end of the day, I appreciate y'all watching. Uh, like, subscribe, follow us. Man, that the more support we can get, the better. Love doing this. And like I said, if you guys got anybody that you know that's out your way, that's just would be a great interview that's doing big things right now, send them our way. Hey, we're anybody that's a great wrestler, great mentor, great influencer, great anything like let's do it. So, um, yeah, just definitely appreciate everybody that has been watching, that follows, and we appreciate the support. And we love y'all, man. Thank you.